I want to widen this out a little bit here. Look at the bigger impact of all of this with Scott Shellady and Shelby, Holliday, Hal Lambert, market experts all sort of looking at the impact of this. I should stress that the market was up ahead of this. The market is up by a similar amount after all of this as people sort of chew on this. Scott, you're out at London, and where all these protests have been going on with President Trump there. He's at Windsor Castle now, I guess about a half hour west. We're told, Scott, that the president was apprised of this before he left for Europe. Do you think it moves the needle on anything? No Americans are involved, no indications that any of this affected the ultimate result of the election, but that clearly the Russians were sort of mucking it up or trying to. What do you make of that?
I don't think we learned anything new today, Neil, and I don't think the market's going to be moved by it at all. So, no, I think it's more of the same going forward. And having heard what just was told to me, obviously President Trump knew about this, and it was then scheduled for the meeting last week with Putin this week, right? So there hasn't been a surprise with either one of those leaders. There's not going to be a surprise in the markets either. It's going to be more of the same.
Shelby, could it make for a tense meeting, though? I mean, if it's just another item that has come to the president's attention to show the degree to which the Russians were capable of getting pretty immersed in our electoral system, again, if we were to accept this at face value, that they got along pretty far, got in pretty deep with quite a few Russian agents involved.
We'll see how Trump reacts, but he was briefed, as we've been talking about, before he made comments this morning saying that he would ask Putin. He's also said he'll ask Putin, but he's not sure, he could do anything about it except say don't do it again. So we'll see if this adds pressure or adds any urgency to the president's request that Putin stop meddling. My colleagues and I at the Journal have been reporting recently that Russia continues to meddle. There's evidence even affirmed by Republicans on the Senate Intelligence Committee that they continue to use social media to interfere in U.S. politics. I think a lot of people are very worried about 2018, and I know that Scott said we didn't learn anything new today, but I think this is a significant indictment for a few reasons. Number one, Mueller is indicting more Russians. That makes it very hard for the president and his allies to continue to attack the Mueller probe. It would make it very difficult for him to end the Mueller probe because he would essentially be letting all of these Russians off the hook who hacked into our democratic systems. And number two, it could hint at a tie to Americans. I know in this indictment it says Americans who communicated with these Russians didn't necessarily know what they were doing or who they were talking to, but it did not rule out the possibility that Americans could be indicted down the road if they knew about the hacked emails and encouraged the dissemination of them. So I don't think that that's something that's been ruled out by this indictment.
Yeah, there's so much we don't know. This much I do, Hal, if markets are worried about this stuff, investors look at this as another element of the unknown we don't really fathom. They have a funny way of showing it or showing concern for it. Risky strategy, or just wait until we know more facts, and that's probably a good strategy for average folks as it is investors. What do you think?
Yeah, no, exactly. I don't think investors are going to be looking at this as anything. Actually, I think people expected this. Everyone had talked about Russia being the ones that had hacked into the DNC. And I think what's important for people to remember is that this happened under President Obama. This was President Obama in charge when these hacks occurred, when this election interference potentially happened. So this had nothing to do with President Trump. And I disagree with the previous guest on this justifies the Mueller probe, because you don't need a special prosecutor to go after this type of meddling and to investigate. Well, the special prosecutor was supposed to investigate whether or not there was collusion with a campaign. And this hacking into the DNC doesn't prove anything about any kind of collusion.
Well, I'd love to respond to that, Neil. I mean, there were some, first of all, the Senate Intelligence Committee and the U.S. intelligence agencies as a whole have concluded that Russia meddled to help the president. There are also associates of President Trump who cheered the release of these emails on WikiLeaks. Roger Stone seemed to forecast them, talking about Podesta's time in the barrel. There are a lot of questions left about what President Trump's associates knew. Maybe not the president himself, but his associates certainly previewed and hinted at the release of these damaging emails. So I don't think that this is ruling out any sort of collusion at all.
All right, guys, before we get sidetracked, I do want to let you know here, these indictments are, again, to be very, very clear, part of the special counsel's investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 presidential campaign. This is citing 12 Russian operatives. They've not been identified, and that they were busy, trying to eavesdrop in and get information from and steal email and other related addresses, text, etc., from top Democratic operatives within the DNC and Hillary Clinton's campaign itself, going, we're told, potentially all the way up to Hillary Clinton's inner staff. Now, I don't know what that means, but that they had the ability to get that high. The president was made aware of these developments. We must stress, as we indicated here, that Rod Rosenstein is saying as part of this Bob Mueller investigation, no Americans were named in this. Nothing that has come to anyone's light at this point seems to indicate that this affected the outcome of the election. So that's just the quick snapshot of that, but we don't know where this goes. But Scott Shellady, let me just posit a couple of ifs for you, if you don't mind indulging me. And one is the notion that it reinforces Bob Mueller's investigation going forward, because to disband it now at this point or to put pressure on him to disband it or wrap things up would mean that Russian operatives might get a pass, or that we would never get to the bottom of this. And as a result, it would only complicate things. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, there probably were a few more breadcrumbs dropped in the forest here from Mueller. But there's another point here that we're all forgetting, and especially in the financial community. Where is the DNC on cybersecurity, right? In our firm, we're taught every year to try to break into our own security systems. We can't have the markets affected by people hacking in and affecting prices of securities. How are they letting these outside influences get in when they should be at the top of cybersecurity? I mean, there should be 7 cybersecurity firms knocking at the door of the DNC right now saying, hey, I can help you out. I mean, they've dropped the ball a lot here. That's a really big thing, especially now when we have to worry about what was coming from Russia.
All right, guys, thank you very, very much.